Содержание всей группы «Вагнер» полностью обеспечивалось государством.
Another open-air dungeon used by the Russian army to imprison its own soldiers has been exposed in the occupied Donetsk region. According to a commander, every unit has one. Although they're illegal, he says, nobody don't care. Statutes and laws don't apply here. Astra has interviewed a Russian commander who is opposed to the use of zindans and has apparently filmed one in the village of Olenivka, south of Donetsk city. He says the zindan is being used to imprison those found guilty of petty offenses. They get a minimum 3 days of imprisonment and a fine, 25 to 30,000 rubles for every day of imprisonment, which is $293 to $352. They use it mainly for drunkenness, for leaving their positions and going to the shops, to the countryside, to visit neighboring positions, or just if the bosses don't have a good look in their eyes. This is the second time I've seen a pit. The first one, as I heard, was closed by the prosecutor's office. But now a new one has been dug in a secret place where no one is allowed. The regiment commander knows about it, and the battalion commander is in charge of it. Soldiers and officers alike are sitting in the pit. They are simply beaten and thrown into it. There's a dirt floor there. You sleep on rags. The prisoners may not be fed or watered. As the commander notes, there are statutory punishments available for such offenses, which do not include being thrown into a pit. The fines being levied appear to be simply a means of enriching battalion commanders. The men have electronic payment cards, which they use to access their salaries. According to the commander, the prisoners make a transfer to a stand-in, and he goes and withdraws the cash. Or they give it right away in cash. They always write a receipt saying that they allegedly borrowed the same amount from someone who is always the same fake person until such and such a date. In the end, the money goes into the pocket of the battalion commander. The commander says that the pits are common knowledge. Everybody knows about them. Everybody shares them with everybody. Battalion commanders and their deputies, regimental commanders. I think the higher-ups know, too. No one's hiding anything about the pits, as well as the scale of the extortion. If all the regimental commanders were to be investigated, up to the deputies of the battalion commander, then these pits would stop. But in the meantime, there is no point in complaining to the higher authority. Relatives have complained many times about their menfolk being thrown into zindans, but this seems to have been largely ignored by the army. The commander is opposed to the use of zindans and says he won't send any of his men there, even if they screw up. He says his own men are willing to fight but are mostly chronically ill, alcoholics, herb smokers. It's a misconception that the mobilized are charged-up Rambos. The average age is around 35. All of them are civilians. The majority are from villages, shift workers mostly. Not even a lot of hunters, thanks to Russian gun laws. None of his men have refused to fight, he says, because you can be shot by your own people if you do refuse. Imprisonment in a pit is divine in comparison. Putin admits Wagner is entirely financed by the state budget. Does it mean that Russia qualifies as a state sponsor of terrorism, or not yet? Also, Putin's numbers don't add up, as always.
Содержание всей группы «Вагнер» полностью обеспечивалось государством. Из Министерства обороны, из государственного бюджета мы полностью финансировали эту группу. Вот только с мая 22 года по май 23 на денежное содержание и стимулирующие выплаты государство заплатило компании «Вагнер» 86 миллиардов 262 миллиона рублей. Из них денежное содержание 70 миллиардов 384, стимулирующие выплаты 15 миллиардов 877, страховые выплаты 110 миллиардов 179 миллионов. При этом собственник компании «Конкорд» через военторг при всем том, что само содержание Вагнера было на плечах государства, за год собственник компании «Конкорд» через военторг получил, заработал от государства, поставляя продукты питания и оказывая услуги по питанию в армии, заработал 80 миллиардов рублей. Содержание полностью взял на себя государство, а часть вот этой всей группы, этой компании «Конкорд», в это же самое время заработали 80 миллиардов рублей. Но надеюсь, что вот в ходе этих работ никто ничего не украл, или, скажем так, украл поменьше. Но, безусловно, мы будем, конечно, с этим совсем разбираться.
Belarus Defense Minister Lieutenant General Viktor Krenin gifted a replica of the first Soviet atomic bomb, saying, "Just for a symbol that we have it." Lukashenko. Let our enemies not to think we are doing a symbolism or we are excited about nuclear bombs. This is just a symbolic. Well, this Russian soldiers and politicians are bizarre in so many ways, you just can't keep up with their shit.
Я потом расскажу точку, как они чем отличаются и выглядят, это уже. Ну вот, чтобы символично было, что это у нас все.
Копия, да?
Это копия первой самой ядерной бомбы, которая была изобретена в Советском Союзе.
Пусть наши враги не думают, что мы тут символизмом занимаемся или уж очень радуемся по поводу ядерного оружия. Это просто символически.
Это символически.
Да.
And is Putin stabbed in the back by his Chinese colleague Jinping? China's envoy to the European Union has suggested that Beijing could back Ukraine's aims of reclaiming its 1991 territorial integrity, which includes Crimea, the peninsula annexed by Russia in 2014. In a recent interview with Al Jazeera and two other media outlets, when Fu Kong was asked about supporting Kiev's goals, which includes reclaiming other Ukrainian regions now occupied by Russia, the senior Chinese diplomat said, "I don't see why not. We respect the territorial integrity of all countries. So when China established relations with the former Soviet Union, that's what we agreed. But as I said, these are historical issues that need to be negotiated and resolved by Russia and Ukraine, and that is what we stand for." The Chinese ambassador's comments followed the 2023 Europe-China Business Summit in Brussels on June 16th. In an interview with the New York Times in April, Fu said that Beijing did not recognize Moscow's efforts to annex Ukrainian territories, including Crimea and the Donbas. Since Ukraine gained independence from the Soviet Union in 1991, Russia annexed Crimea in 2014 and backed separatist uprisings in parts of Luhansk and Donetsk, which are in the Donbas region of eastern Ukraine. Although Russia has claimed the peninsula and has extended its occupation in the Donbas, Western powers do not recognize Moscow's moves. Besides Fu, Chinese leaders generally refrain from making public comments on Russia's annexation of Ukrainian territories. When a United Nations referendum on recognizing Crimea's annexation was held in 2014, China abstained from voting, and Liu Jie, China's envoy to the UN at the time, said, "China has always opposed intervention in the internal affairs of states and respected the sovereignty and territorial integrity of all countries," a stance the Chinese Foreign Ministry reiterated in a statement in April.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Every day. We had a guy last week, it's 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.